Hello and welcome to week 14. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and some of you will be handing in your paper this week from Thanksgiving week assessment 8, and you have until Monday night of this week to hand that paper in. Some of you are watching this video on Sunday at the beginning of class or Monday. So I want to direct your attention. First of all, we do not have a written assignment this week other than post. So it's kind of a week off from assignment, and I did that purposely so I can give you 2 weeks to work on your signature assignment. So I want you to start thinking about that signature assignment. I'm going to just kind of say an outline that you can use if you want to. You don't have to, but here's kind of the stuff I want covered, of course, in a paper. This is the signature paper. And that's kind of the capstone, the umbrella of everything you learned in this class, and how am I going to put it together, and how am I going to put an action plan together at the end of the paper. And so obviously you need an introduction. I always write the introduction last. The introduction doesn't have to be long. It can be 2 paragraphs. It can be a full page, 3/4 page. In that introduction, I want you to think about what would be your thesis statement, and write your thesis statement. You don't have to identify it because I'll be able to identify a thesis statement, but write a thesis statement. I do the introduction last because you really don't know what you're introducing until your paper is completed. That's helped me through all of my education career, if you will, writing the introduction last. So I would finish your paper, then go back to the introduction. Then it's much easier to write that introduction and your thesis statement because now you know what you've written about. In the body of the paper, I think I would divide it in sections. I would have a section on emotional health, the stuff we covered for the first 5 weeks of the class, Pete Scazzaro stuff. And I think I'd talk about how that's changed your life, and what are the things you learned about rhythms and rest and leading out of your marriage or singleness, and what are the things you learned about your own self, about maybe you've been unhealthy emotionally. I've been there. Probably every leader I know has been there in their life. So include a section like that, and then I think I would kind of follow the class outline and talk about engaging our mind and our will, and how we become disciples, the Hall stuff, if you will, and what you've learned about yourself and your gifts. And so I'd divide it that way. I'd say emotional health, and then mind, will, and emotion. What you've learned about yourself. Mind, will, and emotion, a section on your mind, engaging your mind. We know that a lifelong learner is required for leadership. We know that the best thing you can bring to your leadership is the best you. So I'd have a section on that after the Scazzaro stuff. And then I think I would have a section just identifying who you are. What are your gifts? What are your skills? What's your pathway to God, if you will, to worship God? What's your pathway in leadership? Where do you most lean? Kind of all the assignments of this class, if you will. Here's a requirement. You don't have to follow anything I just said for an outline. I'm just giving you suggestions. But one requirement I do have is that you have an action plan. As a result of this class, how will I lead differently? How have I changed? Hopefully in these 15 weeks that you've been able to identify 1 or 2 places where you've changed, and 1 or 2 places you've grown or you've learned. And so identify that. What's your action plan? How are you going to stay emotionally healthy? How are you going to continue to just be yourself? Because that's the best you can bring, yourself. How are you going to do that? How are you going to have good rhythms in your leadership? And so then write a conclusion. Conclusion doesn't have to be long. It really is bringing it all together with a concluding statement, paragraph or 2 paragraphs, half page, something like that. So I hope that is helpful. As we move into towards the end of this class, just want to say I'm thankful for you, thankful for how you've engaged this class. You've done well, and I'm proud of you. God bless. I hope to see you online this week. God bless.